Told my film he is Nedarim Daf Nun, Nedarim 50. We're going to start from Nun Amid Aleph, 3 lines from the top on 50a. Gemara tells us, since the Gemara has been talking about Rabbi Yehuda being very poor, Gemara tells us also about Rabbi Akiva, how he and his wife lived in tremendous poverty. So says the Talmud, Rabbi Akiva is Gadasha Slay Barte the Kalba Sabua. Rabbi Akiva became betrothed to the daughter of Kalba Sabua. We know about this man, Kalba Sabua. He was a very generous man, and we know from the Gemara in Gittin that whoever entered into his house hungry like a dog went out satisfied. That's why he was called Kalba Sabua. He was the wealthiest, one of the three wealthiest people in Jerusalem, according to the Gemara, in Gittin Nun Vav Amid Aleph, and so therefore he was able to sustain the city even though they were under siege. So he became betrothed to the daughter of Kalba Sabua. But Shama Kalba Sabua was unhappy. We know from the Gemara in Ksuvos that Kalba Sabua was unhappy because Rabbi Akiva was unlearned at that time. So therefore, Adra Hana became Nechse. He made a vow, Kalba Sabua made a vow that his daughter, we know from other sources, her name was Rachel, was not able to benefit from all of his property. But Asla the Insave lay Bisitva. So Rabbi Akiva goes and marries her in the winter. What's the reason why it specifies the winter? Even though you might have thought, okay, the winter is the worst time of the year to get married if you have no money. You have no money for fuel, for shelter. They got married right away in the winter, in the darkest days. Havuganu Beitivna, they were sleeping amongst the straw. Havakamankin Leitivna Mimazia. So every morning, Rabbi Akiva's wife was picking the straw out of his head. Other sources say she was picking the straw out of her head. Amarle, Rabbi Akiva said to her, if I had money, I would make for you a Jerusalem of gold ornament. We know from the Gemara in Shabbos that they used to walk around with these ornaments, reminding them of the power of Jerusalem of gold. Also, Elijah knocked on their door, and he was Elijah disguised himself like a regular person, and he knocked on the door. Elijah said to them, "Give me a little bit of straw, because my wife is giving birth, and I have nothing to sleep on." Chaim Shmulevitz points out. Well, let me say the next line. Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said to his wife, Rabbi Akiva says to his wife, look, there's a man, he doesn't even have straw. So at first, Rabbi Akiva was lamenting what he didn't have. Oh, I wish I had a golden ornament, a Jerusalem of gold. But then later on, he realized, why is he forgetting about what he doesn't have? Look at what he does have. This other man doesn't even have what he has. Look how fortunate he is. Amroe. So now when she realizes how lucky they are, how fortunate they are, she says to him, Akiva's wife says to him, Zil Have Beirav, go study in the yeshiva. Azal Tarti Sari Shanin Kamed Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Akiva goes and studies for 12 years in front of Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yeshua. When Mishlam Tarti Sari Shanin, at the end of 12 years, Ka'asal Abeise. In the end of 12 years, he comes back home. Shama Menachore Beise, he hears from behind the house to Ka'amar that a man, Chad Rasha, that a wicked man is saying to her, to his wife, your father did a good job in making a vow against you. First of all, this guy is not on your level. He's left you as a living widow all these years. Rabbi Akiva's wife responded, If he would listen to me, so he'd go back in another 12 years. Rabbi Akiva said, Amar Holbi, Ahabasli Rishusa. Rabbi Akiva said, well, since he gave me permission, I'm going to go right back. Hadar, Have Azal, Have Tarti, Sari Shani Achrisna. So then Rabbi Akiva goes back and he's there for another 12 years. After 12 years, also Be'eser Ve'arban Alfen Zuge, Rabbi Akiva shows back up with 24,000 students. Some versions say pairs, but we know from the Gemara in Ksubos that he didn't have 24,000 pairs. He had 12,000 pairs. So therefore, that's why we say it's 12,000 pairs. So when he comes back, everybody's coming out to greet him. So Rabbi Akiva's wife was also coming out to greet him. There was a wicked person who was there, and this person said to Rabbi Akiva's wife, where are you going? He's not going to know you. He hasn't seen you in 24 years. So she said, she responds to this wicked man, Yodei Tzaddik Nefesh B'Emto. A tzaddik knows the soul of his animal, meaning to say, he's going to recognize me. Also, as Chazile, she came to appear in front of him. The Rabbanan were pushing her to the side because they said, who is this woman who's trying to come? Amar says, Rabbi Akiva, everything that's mine and yours belongs to her. Chaim Shmulevitz points out, why did Rabbi Akiva have to go back 12 years the second time? Why couldn't he just come in first and say hello, have a cup of coffee? So Rabbi Chaim Shmulevitz says, you can't compare somebody who's learning straight for 24 years with somebody who interrupts the 12 years in the middle, because there is something with respect to Ritzifus, of straight, focused, not distracted. That's the highest level, and that's why he was able to accomplish so much. Anyway, Shama Bar Kalba Sabua heard that Rabbi Akiva had come. He came and the vow was annulled. The Gemara in Ksubos tells us that actually Bar Kalba Sabua came to Rabbi Akiva without recognizing him, and he wanted to annul his vow. Rabbi Akiva said, did you make the vow knowing that he was able to become a great Torah scholar? He says, even one letter, if he knew even one letter, I wouldn't have made the vow. And so he annulled the vow. But we learned that if you want to make a reason to annul a vow, something that was created, something that was created new, is not a reason to annul the vow. It's a new situation. So how can he annul the vow? So didn't he become a Torah scholar, which was something new? So the commentaries, they ask this question and they explain, we all have the potential to be great Torah scholars. So becoming a great Torah scholar is not something new, because each of us has within us to become the great Torah scholar. Min Shis Mili, also Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva became wealthy from 6 different things. Min Shis Mili, also Rabbi Akiva. What are the 6 ways in which Rabbi Akiva became wealthy? Min Kalba Savua, from the Kalba Savua, from his father-in-law. Always a good way. Min Ayola de Svinta, from an ayo on the ship. What does that mean? The Kol Svinta Abdullah min Ena, because every ship would make like a wooden ram as a sign, like a good luck charm for the ship, and they would fill it up with a lot of gold. Zimna Chadon Shiua Kef Yama. So one time they forgot it on the beach, and so Rabbi Akiva came also, and Rabbi Akiva found it. And then when they came back, Rabbi Akiva told them, the merchants came, he made a proclamation. He says, I found this. And the merchants didn't want to take it back from Rabbi Akiva because they said that you found it and were so impressed with your honesty, even though you didn't need to return it. And then Gavaza, this was a chest, a box, because what happened? The Zimna Chada Yav Arba Zuze was Safune. Rabbi Akiva gave 4 zuzim to sailors. Amrlo Aisui Midam. He said, bring me something. Go ask Gavaza. Akif Yama. They all he found was a box. All they found was a box on the beach. Asiyue, they brought it to him. Amrway, Avid Marana. They said, you know what? Don't take this. We'll find something better for you. But he took it. He found that it's actually filled with coins. Because one time a ship sank, and they put all their stuff into that chest. And Rabbi Kiva found at that time this box was really connected to these merchants, this rukita that so fine. What was the fourth way in which he became rich? Min matronisa, from a noblewoman, from this specific noblewoman who was the Umin Ish. So this, how did he become wealthy from this noblewoman? What's the explanation here? That there was a noblewoman who one time lent Rabbi Akiva money, and Rabbi Akiva said, Hashem will be the guarantor for the money. So she said to him, she said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the sea, is how the Ran tells the story. HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the sea will be the guarantors. So they established a time to pay, and when the time came, Rabbi Akiva, the Manchernut, Rabbi Akiva was sick, he wasn't able to come back. So this woman went to the banks of the sea, and she said, God, you know, Rabbi Akiva is unable to pay back because he's sick, but you're the guarantor. So immediately the daughter of the Caesar took a box filled with precious stones, and she became insane, and she threw it into the sea, and the sea brought it to this noblewoman, and she was very wealthy. And then when Rabbi Akiva came, he tried to pay her back. She wouldn't let him pay him. She said, God and the sea guaranteed it. And the fifth one is the Ishto shall Turnus Rufus. What's the wife of Turnus Rufus? That the way this story is that Rabbi Akiva was in a dispute with Turnus Rufus, and he bested him. So Turnus Rufus's wife, so he was upset. She said, I'm going to take care of this. So she was going to try to seduce Rabbi Akiva and thereby punish him. But Rabbi Akiva, when he saw her, he spit, he laughed, and he cried. And then she said, why are you doing this? So he said, I spit because you come from a putrid drop. I cried because in the end, your body is going to disintegrate in the ground. And I won't tell you why I'm laughing. Anyway, she goes home. She's so impressed. And she in the end, she converted and she married him. And she brought in all her money with her into the marriage. And then the sixth reason was because of Minkatia Bar Shalom. Katia Bar Shalom was, he asked his advisors to come and say, what do you do with a limb that's decaying? And the other advisors said, chop it off. It was a reference to the Jewish people. But Katia Bar Shalom said it's not going to work because you can't get rid of all of them. And even if you get rid of all of them, they're going to come back and you'll be punished. So they said, we're going to put you to death for giving bad advice, for speaking up to the Caesar. And before he died, he gave all of his possessions to Rabbi Akiva. So that's the 6 ways in which Rabbi Akiva got wealthy. Rav Gamda Yav Arba Zuzah was Sapunai. Rav Gamda gave 4 zuzim to the sailors, Suye Bahon Midam, to bring something. Noash Kachu, they weren't able to find anything. Asuyole Bahon Kupa, so they brought him a monkey. Kof. Ishtamit. So the monkey ran away. Over Charta, he went into like a hole. Chafru Basrei, they dug after him. Ashkefe de Ravia. So what did they found? Ashkucha de Ravia al Margalita. They found him that he was crouching over pearls. I soon like him. So the sailors brought all these pearls to Rav Gamda because they said it was his monkey, and so therefore it was his pearls. This was a midas chasidus. It really wasn't Rav, even though the monkey found it, it was Rav Gamda's monkey. Doesn't mean that it's Rav Gamda's pearls. But they were acting very righteously, these sailors. Amrway Bas Kizo Rabbi Shua ben Chananya. So now we have a story. This is actually reminds us, this is exactly the same story that appears in Tainas Zayin Rabbeis. Not exactly connected here, but the Gemara brings it in here again. The daughter of Caesar said to Rabbi Shua ben Chananya, Torah mefuara b'kli mechuar. Why do you have such a beautiful Torah in such an ugly vessel? Meaning to say he was very ugly, Rabbi Shua ben Chananya. Teach me from your father's home. That's what he said to her. What do they put the wine in? She said, so we put it in these clay vessels. So so he said, everybody puts it in clay, and you also put it in clay vessels. Also, you should put it. You're the Caesar. You should put it in gold and silver. Azlas the Ramas Chamra b'mani the Kaspa udava. So she goes and she puts it in utensils of pottery. And visari, of course, since it was in gold and silver, it spoiled. Amrullah said to her, Afaraita came. And he said, this is the same way with the Torah. If it was put in gold and silver utensils, a very good looking person, it would get ruined. In the Gemara in Tainis, the Gemara's story there tells how the Caesar got upset at her and called for Rabbi Shua ben Chananya, and he had to explain. Here, these stories are a little shorter than the Gemara in Tainis. Gemara says, Vayika Shafir and Megamir. There are people who are very good looking, and they also are very great Torah scholars. Amar he said to her, Yavi Sanu, Avu Gamir and Fei. He said to her, no, if they were not good looking, if they were Sanu, if they were ugly, that's how the word Sanu. So some say, Tosfos in Tainis explains that Sanu means if they hated beauty, then they would be even more learned. There was a person who came in front. There was a woman who came in front of Rabbi Yehuda ben Ardai with Dina, Mislayaves Mindina, and she was found guilty. Amrlei, she said to him, Shmuel Rabach Hachi Danan. Would your teacher Shmuel have also ruled in this manner? So that's what she said to him. Amar la yadatle. So Rabbi Yehuda was impressed. He said, did you know him? Amar la in. Yes, Kutza. I know him. He was short. Viraba crazy. He had a big belly. Ukam. He was very dark skinned. Viraba shine, and his teeth were huge. Amar la. So Rabbi Yehuda said, Levazuye ka'asis. He says, you've come to disparage Shmuel. Te'aviahi isasa b'shamta. Let this woman be excommunicated. Pakav Amesa. She immediately went out and died. Okay, so this is some stories. Obviously, these are just superficial tellings of the stories that really we would need to spend much more time on this, obviously, to really understand the depths of these powerful stories, especially what does it mean about Rabbi Akiva and his wife and the monkey and the ways he got wealthy. These are all very, very powerful stories and need to be studied in depth. Gemara tells us that if you take a vow against a tavshil that you're not going to get benefit from a tavshil, you're allowed to eat a beitza tormita. What an egg? That's a tormitian egg. My beitza tormita. What is this tormita egg? Amar Shmuel, Avda. The Avid law Shavi Alfe Dinari. Shmuel says a slave who knows how to make this beitza tormita is worth 1,000 dinarim. Alpha zimna b'mayachamim. You put it 1,000 times in hot water. Alpha zimna b'mayakarira, and 1,000 times in cold water. Ad mizutra, until the egg gets so small that you could swallow it whole. Isa kiva, and if you have like an infection in your stomach when you swallow it, sarach Allah, the infection will attach to the egg. Bekanavka asya yada asya, and when it comes out, then the doctors will be able to determine his disease. Yada asya my. So then the doctors will know Yada asya my sama mispay, which medicine he needs, and how he will be healed. Shmuel have a badik nafshe. Shmuel was, when Shmuel would check himself, he would check himself bekulcha with a stalk of a cabbage. That's what usually kulcha is. But the Ran writes here, I actually don't know what this is. Ran says kasaf will yadat. Ran writes will yadati mahi. I don't know what this is. And Tosfos Arash says that the kulcha is exactly the speitza tormita. The shita mikubetes brings in the name of the aruch, that the kulcha, this is what I thought it was, is the klach shalkruv, the stalk of the cabbage. That what he would do is he would eat it and then regurgitate it and check it himself. Some say that the shita also brings an idea that maybe it was something diuretic. He was forcing himself to evacuate his body, and then he would be able to check his stool. So all these different possibilities that Shmuel, who was a doctor, was checking himself, and when he would swallow this, and it would be so painful. The mitzrin inche beisa always sareon. The people of his house, from their great distress, they would pull out all their hair from this. It sounds like the prep for the colonoscopy. So then the Torah tells us, the Mishnah says, we learned in the Mishnah Maestris, Tanan Hasam Haya Ose Beklufsin. So if a person was working for these figs that are called klufsin, then he's not allowed to eat the type of figs that are called benot sheva. What's the context here? It says in the Torah in Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 25, that there's a law of the Torah that a worker who works in the vineyard of his friend is allowed to eat while he's working from the grapes of the vineyard. And the Chum say, don't we know that grapes are in a vineyard? Why does it have to say the grapes of vineyard? To teach us that if the worker is working with grapes, he can't eat figs, and if he's working with figs, he can't eat grapes. So now, in this context, the Gemara cites the Mishnah in Maestros, and it's just because we're talking about different types of foods and figs. If somebody's working in a type of fig that's called the klufsin, he can't eat the type of figs that are called benot sheva. If he's eating type of figs that are called benot sheva, well, yochal b'klufsin, he can't eat the klufsin. And what are these klufsin? My klufsin. So says the Gemara, mine de te'ene de avdin min hon lapte. These are type of figs that you prepare a food tavshel from them. So the Gemara brings a story about the tavshil, a cooked food from figs. There was a person who gave a slave to his friend, like Mure Alpha Mine Lapte, in order to teach him how do you cook 1,000 different food items from figs. He wanted his friend to teach him. He said, "This guy will teach you how to be a chef." In the end, he is the servant who he gave him only taught him 800. So the guy who hired him for 1,000 brought the other guy who only gave him 800. He brought him to the court in front of Rebbe. Amar Rebbe, Avosenu Amru. So Rebbe was so shocked by this whole event. He said, "Our father said Nashinu Tova," meaning to say we forgot all the good things. We knew many good things. We knew many good foods, and we forgot them. And anu afil beinenu lo ra'inu. And we who were in the time of the Churban, we never even knew such great things. How was he able to be such an expert in so many foods? Rebbe was shocked by just this occasion. And so the first Elon says Rebbe was trying to say you don't have to pay for the extra 200. Rabbi Avadullah Hilula, Rabbi Shimon bar Rabbi. Rabbi made a wedding feast for his son, Rabbi Shimon. Kasav al Beis Ginana, he wrote on the chuppah house, Esrin va'arba alfin riboin dinarin. He wrote 24,000 ribos of dinarim, which is basically 24 million dinarim. Nafku al Beis Ginana din went out for this wedding feast. Below is money with Bar Kapara, and Bar Kapara, and so basically, and Bar Kapara was still not invited. It doesn't say who wrote it, but the Marsha says that Bar Kapara himself wrote this. You guys had such a fancy wedding, and you didn't even invite me. So Bar Kapara was upset. This is what you do to people who violate God's will. How much more so are you going to do to people who keep God's will? So Asmane, so Rebbe invited him to the wedding. Amar, so Bar Kapara said, if this is what you do to people who keep God's will in this world, so how much more so do you have to do for people who keep God's will? How much more will be done for those who keep God's will in the world to come? How much more will be done for them? And so now we're going to go into the stories of Bar Kapara and Rebbe, very powerful stories. We'll keep that. Hold on, I'll stop the recording now.